Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Check out my new headset. I just pulled it off the porch and it's still cold, but we will see. Seems to be working. Anurag was giving me a hard time on Thursday about my audio quality.
Was it a hard time? I thought it was a good time. It was like really good last week, right?
All right. I put things on the agenda. Okay, this headset is freaking me out.
It's like a Sporta Pro.
A what?
It reminds me of the COS headsets.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very call center. Okay. Sorry, almost got to sharing. What do you do with, do you share from, if you have two monitors, like, oh, I guess I should always leave my maybe the laptop one running. Because I don't like, when I share the big one, it's kind of pointless because everything's so tiny.
I always share windows. Does that change it? Not sure.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Of course, it makes it
Yeah.
harder to jump back and forth.
Okay. So two things I had wanted to talk about. One is library instrumentation, releasing, what does it mean to release, or how can we get to the point of releasing library instrumentation as non-alpha? So we brought it came up in the, or John brought it up in the maintainers meeting. So one of the things was, they said it was the kind of, we're like, oh, okay, fine, you can release the Java agent, but they were not thrilled about, I guess, I thought there had been a decision, but clearly I was wrong about telemetry stability being required or not required for 1.0.
Yep. I thought it wasn't.
So I think, so Tigran seemed like he was going to push forward with this, but it sounded like potentially a couple of, it could take some time, obviously. So I don't know if, are you okay with that, Anurag? I know you want to put out some.
I'm fine. I think.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't expecting anything stable for months. It was last week we had the conversations. Oh, actually, we can do something. But yeah, I mean, I guess library instrumentation is useful for Lambda users, but it's okay, I guess. But when is the telemetry stability decision going to happen? Maybe that's the question.
Yeah, I can, I mean, it's something we can probably keep bringing up in the maintainer meeting just to make sure that that's moving forward.
I mean, again, the question is, who do we want to protect, or who are we protecting? I mean, if you want to release library instrumentations as stable, maybe it is enough to stabilize client-facing interfaces without stabilizing actual telemetry data. So, I mean, I always think that there are two users, or like two uses of every library, the instrumentation that we release. One is actual users who touch their application code, and another is, well, telemetry backend. And as was said during maintainers meeting, nobody never before ever guaranteed stability of the telemetry data, actually. Not a single project said that, yes, we will not make incompatible changes with like telemetry data. So maybe it's okay that we continue to do so for some time, while still saying users, you can instrument your connection pools with this library or your AWS clients with this library, and you will not run into dependency hell or breaking changes during upgrades. Because that's what means guarantee for the end users.
I mean, that seems reasonable to me. I don't
I'm
know what was discussed at the maintainers meeting.
Yeah, that's the problem, is it's not really our decision to make.
But we can always rephrase it like that. And I mean, it seems that during last maintainers meetings, there was an agreement that telemetry guarantee is totally something new in our industry. Nobody provided that before. So why do we need that for 1.0 of our like artifacts that end users use? I think that maintainers will agree on that.
Then,
Actually.
well, let's push it next week in the maintainers meeting again.
Yep.
Say that, that's, that would be our proposal.
But I would like to bring one more separate question to this, meaning that me, myself, don't care so much right now about library instrumentations, but I do care about vendor distribution stability. I mean, if we have a vendor distribution and we implement some either SDK interfaces or agents APIs, I would like them to be stable. Because, well, we have vendor distribution for unspeakable reasons. One of our clients has a separate vendor distribution for himself. So that stability is good.
Because you don't just have one distro, you're starting to have customer specific distros, sort of.
Yep. So I don't think it's a very big surface that should be stable, but anyway. So
I have a question. Does the OTel Java agent extension or the OTel, essentially the OTel Java agent initializer stuff, get you what you want without having to build a distro?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, so far we always worked on the path of repackaging and vendor distribution. Maybe it's not needed. But the question remains, even if we recommend, if we use or recommend to our customers to use initializer jar, that still means an interface from Java agent, that component installer or whatnot. That is.
You can, I mean, depending on what you want to do, right? You can do a lot with what's in the auto configure SPIs.
But auto configure SPI is still alpha, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, yeah, you're right. But it's not in the Java. It's not in the Java agent distribution.
Yeah.
And it's therefore it's probably more stable than whatever we have.
And I would say the auto configure it should be sort of ready to go non-alpha maybe in this month's release. If not this month, definitely next month. But I don't see why it wouldn't be stable this month.
So my point being is that my interests in the near future certainly will be on stability as seen from like custom distribution point of view, be that proper custom distribution or be that initializer jar, doesn't really matter for me in this case. So it's just extending agent, not library distribution per se.
So
Got
your
it.
customers are actually building the distribution themselves? Spunk does?
Yep, we have at least one customer who, for some reasons,
Who's
feels
building it
it's
himself.
its distribution.
So for that, we do need some stability.
Yeah, I feel like this is a really great combination for a lot of stuff. So I'd like to kind of go down that road and turn this into like do what I think Josh Sareth's idea was great about the class loader isolation for loading the initializer jar, so that it wouldn't have any conflicts with anything else that we have in the agent class loader. We would only share the OpenTelemetry API and SDK through to that class loader. So that would give us a pretty tight contract around interop for those extensions.
Probably, but that means that we want this pretty soon.
Right. Yeah, so I did have that on as a question here for the Java Agent 1.0. If we were going to rename and do this, what should we do with, should we deprecate these ones before we release 1.0 so that?
Well, you mean that the environment, that the configuration properties to load initializer or exporter?
Yeah, and I got these wrong. They are .jar and initializer.jar.
Well, we can't just continue to support them. We can't say that these properties are deprecated, log a warning or something, but we don't need to actually change them, do they?
I'd rather, I mean, throw away that code.
At least for the exporter one, definitely I was hoping to delete that because it's just a
But
duplicate of what we have in auto configure. So that's pretty annoying.
will that code be any different from new initializer code?
That's a good point. The exporter is, but the initializer is very similar to this. So this could be an alias.
But why exporter is different? I mean, that new total Java agent extensions jar can certainly contain exporters as well. So what's the difference? As far as I understand currently, you take a jar file, you load that into a separate subclass loader, and you initialize all the components, whatever component mean, in that jar. So if you just take the exporter jar, which contains exporter, the logic is the same, isn't it?
There's one thing for sure that's different about the exporter class loader, which is that we do runtime shading.
but we either have to do that or don't. And if we load the exporter from extensions jar, the logic will be the same.
And then
Not.
the other thing that's different, the exporter jar, I'm just looking at the code now because I forgot. We are using those Java agent SPIs instead of the auto configure SPIs.
Okay.
Definitely want to get rid of those. Those are like so duplicate. Like that's quite sad to have those.
Yeah, that I can understand. Yeah, but my logic is still we want to provide the functionality that you can load a separate jar into agent, isolate it, and install any component that you find inside that jar. So
right.
Essentially, exporter jar should work exactly the same. It's still a jar which has some components in it. The new logic that we create for extensions should work with the same jar that user has provided to exporter.jar configuration property. This can be also an alias.
No, because well, the current you're saying it could be compatible with current ones.
No, I'm saying that the new functionality that we are going to write to support hotel Java agent extensions property. If user gives to that property extensions configuration the old jar which contains exporters, it should work.
No, because the old exporter jars used a special Java agent SPIs for
Okay.
span exporter the span exporter factory stuff that existed before the auto configure SPIs.
Do we have any documentation about that at all?
I don't think
So
so.
how?
Another reason to delete it.
But then these properties, current properties, are not like supported anyway. Again, as we talked
Google,
last time.
I mean, Google is using it.
Yeah, but well.
Oh, right. New Relic is what they were using it. I think they've migrated to the distro.
So answering your question, my thought is that when we release 1.0 of Java Agent, we have agreed that we should very carefully and explicitly list all the things that we declare stable, which means that we can not declare stable exporter jar and initializer jar. So we can just throw them away in some point in time.
So our pattern would be to just put hotel.experimental, right? Or hotel.javaagent.experimental or something like that. Why don't we just do that?
All like that, yep. During 1.0 release or right before it, yep.
Yep, I like this. Yeah, I'll do that. And then yeah, hopefully I'll work on this maybe next week. I don't think it should be a big deal, and it would be cool. I just didn't want to, yeah, I just wanted to make it really clear beyond just our list. Also, like, cool. Okay, so that I'm good with that. So I'll make that. I can do that rename tomorrow. I mean, unless, yeah, I mean, and we should still be able to release this week. I don't think there was anything else really that I'll
Yeah,
put
yeah.
some more thought and doc. I still owe a doc. I'm going to write the doc of like what's stable.
Yeah. So can you? I'm thinking that yes, we certainly need at least that press release before we actually do a release, to see what we declare stable, what not, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
that. I mean, press release ready, not published yet. Before we do actual release, so we can check and be sure that we are on the same page.
Oh yeah. So what I would propose is I'll submit a PR with what Anurag, in the Java repo, was there a convention for how you were documenting? There was a release.
Yeah, the versioning.md for what we're guaranteeing for some.
Oh, okay. Versioning MD. Okay.
I think we do need that for this repo. The first version of versioning will be guarantee almost nothing. That'll just
But
document
that
how we
almost
like
is
the flags.
that
Yep,
almost
exactly.
important.
Yep.
Okay. So I will submit this tomorrow. And then we can review on Thursday / Anurag's Friday, and then we can release. Sound like a plan?
Yep.
And then I wanted to ask on for if we do want to push forward with releasing like Armeria or gRPC, some library instrumentation, currently they depend on, right, the instrumentation API artifact. And since that's -alpha, my thought was, and Anurag, let me know if this is, my understanding from how the SDK repo was doing this is not having, like, you can't have non-alpha artifacts depend on alpha artifacts. So
Not strictly, like I know Bogdan made one change in his words just to make the situation a bit better. But we do have, for example, the semconf artifact is depended on by everything, even though that's alpha. And so we are not strictly following that. I don't think we have to. I wasn't planning on doing it here.
oh, okay. So
Yeah.
semconf, it is depended on by, like, what does,
Maybe it wasn't that. There's one module though. I'm trying to remember. One. Oh no, but yeah, even semconf, it's used by the stable resource extensions. So those resource providers are not alpha. They depend on the semconf as an implementation dependency. And so what we can't do no matter what is dependent on alpha as an API dependency. That's for sure no. And
okay. So it's okay for non-alpha artifact and on alpha artifact.
we do try to, I mean, renaming everything instrumentation API to internal is of course something we can do. I don't think we have to do it though. That's my personal opinion on that one. I wouldn't rename the artifact, like it could stay in an instrumentation API as long as it has no code that's in a non-internal package.
Okay, so potentially,
We could mark instrumentation API as non-alpha and move everything to internal package. That's another approach.
Okay. So yeah, okay, that helps to know our two options.
Like even trace is depending on metrics still because of the batch jam processor metrics. So even that we have this alpha.
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay. So the idea is that as long as it's implementation, not API, users would have to, they
Add
won't
it
get
to
it for
pump.
free.
Yep.
They will have to explicitly list an alpha.
At least with Maven and Gradle. It's off for SPT or whatever other build systems are out there, but with Maven and Gradle, we know this works well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to take your recommendation. Nikita, do you have any preference?
No, I'm just still uneasy about releasing that for some reason.
Yeah, we're not going to release instrumentation API stable for a long time. This is just if we release library instrumentation.
Well, yeah, but they will bring in classes and users start using them and they will break. Yeah, it's internal, you are not supposed to, but anyway, they will.
So the
So
idea
I'm
is,
not strongly opposing that, I'm just somehow uneasy.
yeah, so I think the idea is that people like the way I've seen the SDK repo navigate this is tell people you have to use the bomb, and then as long as you use the bomb, then you're guaranteed to, since yeah, as long as only we publish things that use the instrumentation API. And so that gets, where it gets potentially hairy is like
Yeah,
if sleuth,
that's my
I'm worried
problem.
about sleuth.
Yep.
And end users themselves who start using library instrumentation, there is a chance they start using tracers directly for some unknown reason.
Like they would have to add it to their POM directly though. That's the thing. So we hope that's an explicit enough step. Like they wouldn't have the classes just show up for free. Because it's an implementation dependency, not an API dependency.
Wait. What do you mean? If
So when
yeah, go on.
if we use an implementation dependency, it's on the runtime class path, not the compile class path. So it doesn't get into users' code for compilation automatically. They would have to explicitly add it to the compile class path themselves.
Okay. In that case, it's a little bit less of a problem. Okay. Okay. Then my reservations are even
definitely
less.
we can say that there's this problem that we're, practice what I preach, not what I do or something. We tell Sleuth, don't depend on our alpha stuff while we're doing it.
Even though we are.
Yeah. So that's just, that exists. But I think it's unavoidable, especially because, I mean, this is a smaller problem than even metrics that we're dealing with. Like that one people are going to depend on, we can expect it. It's going to cause problems, but it is what it is. So I'm far less worried about the instrumentation API.
Okay.
All right, so Anurag, it sounds like you prefer this one.
Yeah.
All right. Where is strike through? we'll just do that. Okay. Anything
Oh, I
on your
keep
mind?
on talking about this caching stuff for some reason. Yesterday I was playing around with it before bringing in that concurrent linked hash map or something like that. I thought I'd just see what happens if I depend on caffeine and use Shadow Jar's minimize thing to only get the classes that we use. And when I tried that, instead of the 1 meg, which is the normal jar, it was cut down to around 350K without any
Ooh.
real work. And so now I wonder whether that line is enough that we just go with that instead of using the old class, or again, when we draw, where do we always draw the line on this sort of decision, size versus getting the latest features of caching or whatnot.
Well, I did notice that Datadog had pulled in caffeine.
Data?
Caffeine, if I can spell it. Caffeine, yeah. Let's see, Gradle, Hatch, inner class. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, as in for the weak cache as a weak, the weak cache implementation.
And that's also something.
So yeah, that sounds good to me, especially with that size.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with that size, if that's, I mean, I've had kind of trouble in the past with, or at least it's been a little bit of a nuisance in the past using those minimize things. But that's more been like for a bigger
Yep, exactly. This
swath
is
of things.
very small API, so I think our unit test will catch any weirdness.
Yeah. And also it's probably not a lot of reflection and weird stuff going on in there.
To be honest, there is. So I did find that. Yeah.
Okay.
Like caffeine, it automatically generates like 100 different types of implementations for different types of caches, and then reflectively loads the one that was configured by the user. So it actually does have that, but like I found it very easily by just writing a unit test. I'm pretty confident I would find those, so I'm not too worried.
Okay.
Yeah. It has like the class names like SSM S or something like strong keys, strong values, maximum size. And so the class name that implements that sort of cache is SSMS. That's loaded by reflection. There's also like SK. Like I guess we would need SSMSK KSMS or something. So, yeah, so if that sounds okay, I'll continue with that.
Yep. Yep. I think we probably have some, if we really wanted to save a few $100K here and there, I'm sure there's places we could attack.
Have you ever thought about the idea of, if not even, like we could have a slim jar or not, but like using gRPC OKGTP instead of Netty? Like I think that would cut down on a lot of startup overhead and jar size, and might reduce throughput of spans, or might not. I think the performance of OKGTP versus Netty is not a well-defined thing. There's an assumption that Netty has better performance, but in practice, I think they're pretty similar. Anyways.
Yeah, I have no
we can explore that at some point. Yeah. We probably need better benchmarks first.
Yeah, what in the SDK, well, I guess people can configure how whatever they want. Or
Exactly. Like
the,
we have gRPC NetE stated as one of our dependencies, but it's pretty easy for us to just change that to HTTP instead.
okay.
Just a 5-character change and it works. So like it would be easy to experiment. And we just have to see what
Yeah,
the impact is. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't have that particular problem. Like in our distro, we aren't using OTLP, so no gRPC. So
Nice.
yeah.
I was really just a random comment. Like I was really happy with this RocketMQ PR. Like it just converted into library instrumentation right in front of my eyes. Like I was like, oh, this actually works.
Yeah, we just had to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
And yes, and also thankful for the number of different reviewers that we have. That not
OKS
everybody.
is so active nowadays. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. How's manager life, Nikita?
Do you see how many pull requests I have submitted recently? That's the answer.
Yep. Yep. But it seems like
But
you're managing well.
I will hope to do
Yeah,
one.
Because you
exactly.
can,
this week.
we can measure your PRs now as all the PRs of Mateus or the other people on your team. So
Lori.
I think
Yeah.
your scope,
Yeah.
your actually impact has gone up.
Well, they would submit PRs even if I wouldn't be a manager, so that doesn't really help. So
Don't know. Who knows?
yeah.
Oh, you were asking.
Yeah. So should we? Is there anything blocked in your PR?
Oh.
Otherwise, you just merge that, right?
Yeah. So do you want this with Yeah, we can do that. I just need to. Cool. I will just leave it like this and let you all, once Mateus is online, just pick something to merge. What did I undraft it? I
Marked it ready.
Anything else?
Does anyone have any idea what could have changed yesterday to cause the Java builds to get so flaky? Like their real flakiness is just for some reason we started exercising them on almost all builds since yesterday, like as if a new version of Java came out or something. It was so weird.
Oh, in the Java repo, in the other
Yeah.
repo?
Yeah.
Huh. Yesterday I was my my Microsoft repo, the GitHub Actions were like
They had the
back.
degradation, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
so maybe,
I was out for like 5 hours.
yeah, I wonder if they tweaked something. Like it was just so interesting to see. Like it never happened, and then all of a sudden, since yesterday, like the test order changed for whatever reason. Maybe maybe Java just based the test on the month of the year or something. I don't know. So it flipped to March, and now the test order is different. I don't know. But that started failing because that it was really surprising. I mean, they were correct failures. It was bad code, but it just came out of nowhere.
Why now? Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Definitely not reproducible build if that happens, but I guess it's okay.
Oh, while y'all are here, what do you think about this? So for Cassandra, for db.sql table, we're stripping off the key space. And Frank had done that originally because key space is already captured as a separate tag. Which I don't have any issue with that, just that, I mean, it's not what the spec says though for DB SQL table.
I don't know Cassandra very well. So the key space is sort of like a database. It's the schema.
Yeah,
It's the same. That depends on DB engine. I think sometimes you have both DB like different databases and schema. Sometimes it's one and the same, if I'm not mistaken.
but it is
Just-
essentially a namespace.
Yeah. And so we're talking about the span name?
Oh,
Right?
no, the db.sql.table. And so actually maybe this is the answer, is that Cassandra maybe shouldn't even be capturing db.sql.table.
That it shouldn't be, it seems.
Yeah, okay. That sounds like the way out of this, because I'm pretty sure these
Yeah.
tests.
No, I finally understood what we were talking about, like strip key space. I was just interpreting that as calling dot strip on it to remove the
Oh,
leading
white
and trailing
space.
white space. Removing key space. Got it.
Yeah. Okay, I can check on that. Maybe it is capturing it as DB Cassandra, but I can figure that out and reply there.
I would expect if we have an attribute for the key space, we wouldn't want it in the table. Like I assume that's skll was because we don't have it as a separate attribute.
Right.
Like if you just duplicate it, that seems pretty silly.
It does. So what, semantic attributes says DB. I'm like searching for, I forget the DB SQL. All right, anything else? If not, sounds like we've got a good plan for the next couple days. Cool. Have a good Wednesday, and see you
Have a
soon.
good night. See you.
Bye.